right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome to the October 5th Public Works and Planning Committee. County. And we will just get right to the point. Rachel, we don't need to call roll, do we? You can. All right. Let's just start off with the, oh, well, I do have to approve minutes. So I'd like to call on Vice Chair Steve Piercy.
Chairman Cush, I have reviewed the minutes and I will move for their approval.
All right, we need a second. All right, we have a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. We do have a quorum, don't we? Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Now, Highway Department report. Come on up. Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. Just have a couple of things for your consideration tonight. I don't know how they were loaded. I don't know what you have first, whether you have the budget amendment first or the speed limit.
We have
budget amendments?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So these were both passed by the road board yesterday morning. They considered them both together. I'm assuming that'll be fine for this committee as well. So what we're doing is we're increasing the budget from our fund ending balance from the Highway Department, RCHD, from fund ending balance into highway equipment by $167,898. And that will allow us to leave the amount that we put in our annual operating budget the same and go ahead and pay for these tractors out of fund balance. And then same thing or similar for Public Works. We're going to decrease the fund ending balance for Public Works by $319,610 and put that into our other equipment line item in Public Works, leaving the original amount that we had in that $65,790 line item the same, so that we can move forward with some money in those in case there's some unforeseen equipment that we need to purchase. We won't have to do another budget amendment. Again, these were approved by the unanimously by the board yesterday morning. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
So moved.
Any questions regarding this request? All right, we'll do a roll call vote, please. Rachel?
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes.
The next thing is we were asked to look at some speed limits, and we sent a request over to the Sheriff's Department to Michael Rogers. He's the one that works with us on this kind of thing, and for recommendations, these roads that you see here, Christiana Hoover's Gap Road, Cobb Road, Hoover's Gap Frontage Road, and Morgan Road. Christiana Hoover's Gap will be lowered by 5 miles an hour. These other roads that you see here were not posted, so we're getting those posted to us what we feel like is a good safe speed for those conditions out there. So we have a letter. You should be able to see a recommendation letter from Mr. Rogers there at the Sheriff's Office, and this too was passed unanimously by the road board yesterday morning.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
You may.
Like on these roads, if they're not posted, what's the regulation here in Rutherford County? What, for non-posted road, what is the speed limit?
Well, we believe it to be 55 if it's not posted. However, there is some maybe a little bit of disagreement about that among different agencies, but we believe that it's 55 in the information that we have. Now, that's not to say that always, just because the speed limit's 55 doesn't mean that's a safe operating speed. You're supposed to be maintaining control of your vehicle, so some of that's left to the driver to determine, but 55, I believe, is the rule. That's the way the Highway Patrol views it.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner Blair. All those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries.
That's
What
all
else,
I
Greg?
have this evening.
Did I hear a comment? Okay. Oh, yeah, thanks. Do we don't really need a motion to approve his report because we basically did that, but, okay. Greg, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. All right. Tanya, how about buildings and codes report? Greetings to you.
Good evening, Commissioners. All right, so the month of September, building codes issued a total of 323 permits, which was right along what we did the August and the same month last year, for a total revenue of $115,195. We did a little better than 2,000 inspections and drove 8,400 miles.
What was your single family last year, do you recall? Or last month, excuse me.
Our single-family dwellings were 69. This time last year was 72, last month it was 84. All right, if nobody has any further questions, I'll go on to development tax and school facilities tax. Development tax, we collected $101,250, and school facilities tax, we collected $297,244, for a grand total of $398,494.
Tanya, those were down from the prior 2 months. Any
Development tax?
Yeah, any giant concern there, or any reason why July and August was particularly large compared to
Well,
September?
So we're just now starting to see a pickup in the school facilities tax. July and August was fairly slow where school facilities tax applied, because people were still permitting single-family dwellings that had been recorded on plats prior to July 1st. So we were collecting development tax on those versus school facilities tax. I will say that the school facilities tax, this month has been a decent month in school facilities tax, and I will say that most of the builders are opting to pay for the entire thing up front. We have a couple that are choosing to just pay half of it, and most homeowners will just pay half of it, just to save themselves some money till the end. But if you look at the far right of your school facilities tax report, and it says the month's total square footage is 305,690, and of that 305,000, we collected 297 in development tax, 297,000. So you can see there that there was only about 8,000 square feet that wasn't collected in school facilities tax, because most of the builders are opting to pay it all up front when they obtain their building permit. So the development tax is dropped down because we're seeing less of those. As we exhaust all of the lots that are previously recorded, that development tax is going to go down, and the school facilities tax will continue to grow. All right, and if we have no more questions on that, zoning enforcement, we had a total of 164 inspections for the month of September.
All right, any questions for that zoning report or any others?
One.
Yes, sir.
Does the county still require a permit to operate a corn maze or haunted woods in our county?
It requires zoning approval. It does not require a building permit. For an outdoor event,
Right.
the building permit would only be required if there was a structure involved.
But they still have to pay a fee to operate.
I'm not sure. I don't think planning collects a fee, and we don't collect one.
So they can have one and not come see you.
Sorry?
So they can have a corn maze and not come
Well,
and see you.
it still needs zoning approval.
Okay. Well, back several years ago, it was a $300 permit to operate one, because I paid it several times.
Okay, that must have been in planning. Doug's going to address that when he comes
Okay.
up.
Thank you. I move to approve a report.
Okay. That seems high. Maybe it was just for you. Yeah, okay. All right. We have a second?
Yes, sir.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in, wait a minute, this is no money. Yeah, all those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. Do we need, I'm sorry, do we need to approve her reports separate as a group, or? Okay, all right, for whatever reason, my mind's not clicking on the
Thank you.
report
Good
approval.
evening.
Thanks, Tanya. All right. They have to have you step in, Steve. Planning and engineering report. Doug, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Before getting into my reports, let me go ahead and address Commissioner Piercy's question. I think what you were referring to was the Board of Zoning Appeal application fee for that. Depending on the circumstance, new applications, of course, now that fee is going to change, but we did institute something several years back where renewals were allowed to be done, and the fee's half of what it would normally be. Now, that gets also into agricultural uses and things like that, so there's a little bit of leeway on some of those. But generally speaking, yeah, the ones that are renewed every year, the fee's only half of what it used to be. So, okay, sure. Okay, now getting into our subdivision lot inventory report. That's the first thing I'll talk about today. You'll see I've got several things on the agenda. It's not quite as daunting as it looks, I promise, but this month, after we looked at all the building permit information, our current lot inventory stands at 763. That's up about 50 from last month. The reason being is there were 3 larger sections of plats that were recorded during the past month with over 107 lots. So getting back to the discussion that Tanya was just having, with those new subdivisions being brought in and being recorded, those are going to be all subject to the school's facilities tax. So as time does go on, you're going to see, like she had said, the development tax is going to keep on decreasing, but the school's facilities tax will keep on increasing with more and more subdivisions that are recorded.
Is there a need to separate the lots that will be under, for us, I don't know if we need to or not, but do we need to see the number of lots that are left over that'll be under the developmental tax? Do we need to know the new ones that will be under the new facilities tax? I mean, is there a need for that? I'm just asking.
I don't know. I think we can handle that pretty much in-house. Now, that's a report I'm sure we could generate if need be, but essentially what we're going to be looking at is any plat that was recorded prior to July 1st is going to be development tax.
That's something you could just mention in your report. I know Chairman Harris normally likes to hear that, so if you could, like if you have 763 and 700 of them are under the old, and then 63 of them are under the new.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert in, this is an Access report, Microsoft Access, but I know people that are, so we should be able to create a report for that.
It might be a nice piece of information, just not to put in writing, but just to alert.
Just to see what it looks like.
Yeah, to alert the committee, so.
Sure, no, I don't think that'd be hard to figure out, so yeah, absolutely. Any other questions on that part of the report? If not, I will go ahead and jump into our rezoning report. We don't have any rezoning applications this month, but that doesn't mean you get a break from me, sorry. You are going to have to listen to a public hearing on the zoning ordinance amendments that we have. And it's all under one item, really, zoning ordinance amendments, but it's divvied out into 4 different sections. I can go into as much or as little detail into this as you'd like. We began discussing these amendments for cargo containers and et cetera over the last several months, starting really back in July. Request for cargo containers, and I'm talking about those shipping container things that you'll see like on cargo ships or on like tractor trailers, things like that. We've been seeing more and more requests for those type structures as accessory structures for storage on residential lots. Of course, that's not something that we currently allow, but we see more and more localities going in that direction, and we studied some localities, also got with our codes director, Ms. Bell, and then our fire folks, Larry Farley and Josh Sanders, our fire marshal, to see if there was a way to craft some regulations that would allow us to do this, but still keep safety in mind, aesthetics, and those kind of things. So we are presenting some amendments to that, which are here. Again, I can go into as much or as little detail as you'd like tonight. We're also proposing some changes to the way we handle outdoor parking and storage of recreational vehicles, and I'm talking things like RVs, boats, trailers, and things like that. We were running into some issues with people having multiple RVs on property, especially on larger properties, and one in particular was starting to use them as like Airbnb type issues, and of course those aren't approved structures for those kind of things. So we came up with some standards, and basically what we are doing, we've kind of reworked this portion of the ordinance. You can see on in the report there, but what we're going to do is base it on the size of the property as far as outdoor storage, what you can have. If you have less than an acre of land, then you can have one watercraft and a trailer, you can have 2 all-terrain vehicles, and a trailer for that, a utility trailer, or a camping trailer RV. If you've got 1 acre to 5 acres, you can have a combination of those things, and if you've got larger than 5 acres, you can have multiple items. That's how it's kind of where we landed after looking at this. That gives the larger properties a little more flexibility, and this just applies to outdoor storage. If somebody has 2 boats and they have under an acre of land, they keep one in their garage, they can still have one in their driveway and whatnot. So that's where we kind of landed on that. The next section has to do with portable structures, temporary portable structures. This particular section of the ordinance was created when the pod storage was becoming kind of a thing. We've kind of tweaked this a little bit, being that there's a lot of those, junk be gone and type businesses where people put those trash receptacles out in their yard for a limited amount of time. And so we wanted to kind of tweak the ordinance a little bit to allow for those type of situations and to account for those. And then finally, that last section is adding a definition to Appendix A for the cargo containers. So these amendments, again, we talked about these over several meetings. We did have a public hearing last month. No one came to speak on it one way or the other, but Planning Commission did recommend approval by a unanimous vote on that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Again, I know it's a lot to throw at you at one time.
So if you're remodeling your home and you have one of those pods to put your furniture and other belongings, according to this, 120 days max, is that correct?
That's correct, and a valid building permit to do it, so yes.
Okay, so as a neighbor, if I'm out in a county subdivision, I wouldn't have to look at that thing more than 120 days.
Right. Now, obviously, if things are going a little slowly, as long as there's a valid building permit, we're going to work with people. What we want to avoid is it becoming a permanently temporary situation. So.
Chairman,
Yes, sorry.
the deviation on the less than an acre is one vehicle and then so forth. Was there any regulation prior to this? So
Yes, the regulation, now, as far as the way it was broken down, it was basically anything less than an acre and anything above that is really the way it was worded. And honestly, the wording was a little confusing the way it was.
the less than an acre was one boat, the standard's the same, so
Pretty much, yeah, as I recall, it was pretty much, if it was less than an acre, you could have basically one of the, not necessarily all of these, but we wanted to clarify that a little bit because there was some confusion as well. Can they have one of each or just one? So we wanted to clarify that.
and the enforcement of this, is it usually prompted by somebody calling in or by our folks observing?
Typically, somebody calling in is usually how we get these, yes, sir.
And last question, on the large tracts, it's relatively unlimited. I hadn't been able to find it, but you indicated it was over 5 acres.
Under C, we just say you can have multiple items of those listed. We don't put a limit on it if it's greater than 5 acres. Because I honestly, we talked about that, and we weren't really sure what kind of limit would you put on it, 2, 3, 4, I mean, that becomes arbitrary at that point.
Yeah, I'm all for the intent of this, but I could also see where if you're a landowner, it could be quite a burden. So I think I'm okay with this.
Okay.
So if I'm out in the county and I have 10 acres, but I have a bulldozer for my commercial use and I have a backhoe,
Well, that's a little different situation. That would fall under the home-based business standards.
so that's
Yeah.
going to be a whole different
Right.
permitting type program.
Right, that'd be a different
process.
section of the code. This really is dealing with recreational crafts, boats, RVs, things like that. Yes, sir.
But I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, now hopefully no one's going to come to me and say, well, I use my bulldozer for, recreational purposes. I don't know, but I suppose that could happen. But that would be a different part of the code.
Doug, on the less than an acre, one boat, is there a size limit to that boat?
No,
So they could put a houseboat on it if they wanted to?
I suppose they could, yes, sir. I don't know how we could regulate that, honestly. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, hey, Mayor.
Mr. Demasi, on the 180 days, is there any circumstances that would allow you as the director to waive that 180-day limitation based on some circumstances? Not bad weather storm, a 200-year-old tree falls and goes right through the middle of the house, or
Yes, sir.
a fire, or and they had to move their furniture out, and because even with COVID, with the limitation on getting building supplies, it might run you past 6 months in repairing a large house.
The way it's currently worded, it allows the, there's two situations. If you're remodeling, or like you stated, natural disasters and things like that, you can have a 6-month permit, and then you can have an additional.
You can appeal.
There is an additional 6-month permit you can ask for.
Okay,
So
good.
yes, I apply. Yes, it is in there on both situations.
Doug, was there on the 5 acre or greater than, was it greater than 1, or was it
It was great. Well, there was less than an acre, 1 to 5, and then 5 and larger. Is how we
okay,
broke
5
it
and
up.
larger? Did we have language in there about trying to put the recreational equipment on the side or backyard and just not out front, or visible from the street?
There was some discussion about that. I don't know if, let me see, I'm looking at the regulations.
Or would we want to encourage that they have that not on the front elevation? Possible.
Right. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at this. Requirements for each dwelling unit, okay. Okay, under D, it says we do allow for those type facilities to be on an existing driveway, provided that adequate parking exists to meet the requirements of Appendix D, which is our off-street parking requirement. But I don't think we went any further with it than that. I think that's kind of where we left it when we were at Planning Commission. So. And I will say this, that if we think this needs to cook a little longer, I mean, there's no urgency with this. I mean, this could always be bumped until we could work on it some more if that's what the board felt like we needed to do. So that's fine if we needed to add something.
What's your wishes?
Just on your question, Mike, does the current zoning and building fire code regulations comment on that at all, as far as you know? I see Tanya's gone, but.
Yeah, she's left.
And that
As
may be
far
in
as
the weeds.
setback, no. Now, there may be some, I'd have to check with them. I'm not sure.
I don't know if it matters, Mike.
I mean, I think we can encourage, and most people don't want to park all their stuff right in the front anyway, but I can see some situations where somebody has like 50 or 60 acres and their house is, several hundred feet off the road, and they have like a garage in front of their house somewhere. I mean, we do make allowances for that, and they park all their stuff there. Technically, it's in front of the house. We wouldn't have a problem with that. But at the same token, you wouldn't want to see that in the middle of a subdivision, someone just parking in the middle of the front yard, so.
Yeah.
Move to approve.
All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Doug, thank you.
Okay,
What
thank
else?
you. I've got just a couple other things. At the last Public Works meeting, we had some discussion about short-term rentals. Commissioner P. had asked us to look into that some. He had asked for a copy of the state law in relation to short-term rentals. And I know he's not here tonight, but I did include that on your iPads tonight. Unless you have specific questions, I'm not really going to start going into that very much. I will say that we have met as staff to start discussions on creating some regulations for short-term rentals, Airbnb, and we have brought it up to the Planning Commission and I've talked with them, got some good ideas from them. So we're working on it, but Commissioner P. had asked for the state regulations as far as zoning are concerned for Airbnbs or short-term rentals, and I've provided that for your information. If there's no other questions on that, I've got one other item that is not on your agenda, but is on your iPads tonight. This is a budget request, budget amendment request. With the approval of changing our public notice requirements for both the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission from 500 to 1,000 feet, we think it's necessary to get a new folding machine for our office. The one that we have is pretty much past its useful life, doesn't work very well anymore, and we've asked for some funds. Now, this is all coming out of unassigned fund balance. We did not have this as part of our budget. We didn't really have anywhere to move the money from. But what you're seeing is a request for about $5,000, not quite, $4,920. And that would be for the office equipment, the equipment itself, which is about $3,700. I put some additional information behind the actual request document that you see on the first page. That would also include delivery, setup and training, and then you'll see a separate line item for the maintenance agreement for that. The only item that would be a recurring cost would be the maintenance agreement, and we from this point forward, if this is approved, we would just budget that with subsequent budgets moving forward. So we're just asking for your approval on that.
All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Mr. Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Chairman Kush?
Yes. What else, Doug?
That's all I've got.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mac. All right.
Over there, you talk in front of the full commission. They do it differently. Let me mention this first, or I'll forget it. Household hazardous waste, November the 6th, from 8 until noon, 4765 Florence Road. They will not accept any paint, aerosol cans, I think that's it. Ammunition, there's a few other things they don't take, but HHW needs to be well attended, please. The first Saturday of November, November the 6th.
How will that be advertised to the, how will the public
As well
know?
as possible.
Yeah, okay.
It's already on our website. Ashley's already sent some things out for it as well, so it's,
Okay.
we've already started. Our centers, we have signs made up that we request to have the first Saturday of November anyway. So we have signs that just say that way it's not a date, and they're already out, and they went out last weekend.
Okay. Thank you.
No, 4765 Florence Road, that's the city of Murfreesboro's mulch facility. Remember, we didn't have one in the spring, and then we paid for our own back in the fall. of last year. Let me... We'll start out with the landfill report. You can see the landfill has not been super busy. There's not been a whole lot of weather going on that was good for landfill operations. And then you can see the expenditure report, and that's for this budget year. That gets you through the end of last month. And if you'll look on that, the big expenses are the equipment that we have, people working to haul their dirt and push their brush and all that kind of stuff. Liberty Tire is a big expense. That's who we recycle our tires with. And then on-site is the other big expense. The rest of them are just pretty much normal expenditures throughout the year, but that's the ones that you'll see that kind of stand off the page for you. Any questions? Ready to move on to the convenience center side?
You guys ready?
Convenience centers have stayed pretty busy. Fall break is this week. The rain is helping us a little bit, but for some reason, fall and spring break is when we get extra busy. But it's the weather's kind of held it back just a little bit right now. But they'll bring it any other time too. Then you can see on the last part of the pages is where the convenience center totals. But I gave you a homework sheet. What you're looking at there is on the left side is same time last year, right side is same time this year. And that's our recycling and what we do and where we take things and how much we've got paid. You can see it's a 96% increase from last year to this year. Two reasons for that. One, commodity prices have increased and commodity volumes have increased. Any questions?
So Mac, I'm just, first time I'm seeing this, so let me just ask the question.
Okay.
This left column and right column with the 96% increase, you say these are commodities, so these are recyclables, right?
Yes.
These are materials that can bring money or have some value to them. So does this indicate that well, I guess how are we increasing the ability to have almost 100% increase in the recyclables over last year? What's causing? I mean, I know that the commodity value's up, but how are we getting that much increase, I guess, to these vendors? I'm not describing this very well.
Let me try that.
How are we obtaining this extra recycling bulk to get to these people
Amazon is a big thing.
Okay.
People have their groceries delivered to them. They're cooking at home more. They're having a lot of things shipped, so a lot of it's just the shipping packaging that we're winding up getting on the back end of it. That's where a lot of it's coming from.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So what happens to these monies if we go into an agreement with Pratt? So does all this go through Pratt?
Pratt's main thing is paper and cardboard. The fifth one down, Greif packaging, that stuff would be the Pratt part of it.
Which one?
Greif, G-R-E-I-F.
Oh, okay.
That'd be the paper, cardboard commodities. And then they spoke of plastic, which plastic does not have a revenue.
Okay.
Right now, we're taking it to Nashville to Waste Management. They're not charging us for it, but they're not paying us for it either.
I'm just going to have some random thoughts. So 50,000 is cardboard, old cardboard, your packaging.
Cardboard and paper.
Is the Greif packaging.
Greif, mhm.
And 65,000, I added up the three that appear to be metal,
Yes.
so there's your bulk right there, metal, half plastic, or half cardboard is the
Right.
big part is 80% of our 220,000.
And third from the bottom, Rutherford County Recycle Center, that's your electronics.
The 18.4?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the acronym for OCC or is this
Old corrugated cardboard, OCC.
primarily OCC? Can you make that assumption in the?
It's both. Yes, it is probably tonnage-wise 85% cardboard, tonnage-wise. I want to share this with you for two reasons. One, COVID slowed everything down last year, and now it's speeding everything back up. And then the other thing is televised. We have a lot of people that accuse us of putting the commodity in the container and then taking it to the landfill. So that's not necessarily a true statement. If it's contaminated, yes, it does go to the landfill. Any other questions?
Well, thank you for that spreadsheet. That's helpful.
That's all I have.
All right, we would need a motion for approval of those reports.
I'll move to approve his report as presented.
Second.
And a second. No monies. Yes, all those in favor, signify aye. Any opposed? All right, Mac, thank you.
Thank you, Mac.
All right, that leads us to other business. Any comments? I will remind you that October 12th, I forget what day of the week that is, but Tuesday, that is our final technology interview with Waste Management. And so be there or be square. All right. Oh yeah, please do. Come on up, Mike. And yes, please bring our future.
I hope y'all get as lucky as I have been. When Kathy decided to retire, we interviewed for the job, and Tanya beat out all the competition. She's been in the trash business 22 years.
My condolences.
So she knows our department very, very well. So.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Just to give everybody an update with Max leaving, I met with Tanya last week. I've asked Tanya to just kind of fill in as the interim during this period of time. We posted Max's position last week. The cutoff for that posting will be next Tuesday on the 12th. I'm going to be out of town for a few days. For my 38th wedding anniversary. I'll come back and set up interviews at that point in time for those who have qualified on the posting. And I'm probably looking at, with a 2-week notice, probably looking at coming back to you with the recommendation of the replacement by second week in November, second week in November. But I think in talking with Mac today and with Tanya last week, I think the employees were comfortable. Anytime you change leadership, people get nervous, employees get nervous, but I think Tanya was able to settle them down, saying she's going to be there and hold her hands and take care of them. So she's going to be, along with Mr. Sandlin, going to go out and give some assistance during this period of time. He was out there Friday and again today, just making sure that nothing falls through the cracks. And, so stay tuned.
Thank you. Thank you, and good luck as we make this transition. Steve, she's got your phone number, correct? All right, very good.
Oh, John's here.
Yeah, would you like to give an update on your convenience center
Mr. Chairman, we met today. John, of course, Jay's on his, he's on his, I won't say his honeymoon, but he did get married. And
What?
And he's taking the kids with her kids and his kids.
Fantastic.
And they're at the beach.
Fantastic.
Met with he and met with the superintendent, our highway superintendent this morning about the Rockville. And Mike was there, Doug was there. John, if you'll bring us up to date.
Sure. Thank you. My name is John Gordon. I'm the design engineer working on the convenience center improvement projects, and so we're working on those 4 locations right now. Smyrna's location to relocate the Weekly Road location is, those plans are at Smyrna for review and Planning Commission this Thursday. Leanna and Rockville we met on today and have been having meetings to refine those, and those will be revised and get turned back into Rutherford County Planning next Tuesday. And then we're also working on the plans for the relocated Walter Hill site farther back up Landfill Road.
All right, John, I'm not going to let you off easy, so I have a question.
Sure.
As I recall, the Smyrna Weekly site had some FEMA concerns in regards to floodplain. Has any of that been rectified, clarified?
So clarified, yes. Smyrna requires compensating cut and fill within the floodplain, and most of that block of property owned by the county is within the floodplain. The flood maps are preliminary that are changing the floodplain and actually lowering that, which will allow us to use more of the site. So what we have figured out to do is go ahead and get our plans approved through Smyrna, and then we'll have to wait to move dirt until the final approval of those new flood maps from FEMA, which could come really at any time, or it could be a wait. We don't have a timeline on when FEMA will give us the effective date of those new plans.
And last tough question. I think Jay swore his soul that these 4 would be ready to advertise around mid-December.
That's where we're still, I think, on that schedule. With the 3 that will be through Planning Commission, and then the new landfill road location is the one that is behind the others that will then run through that same process. But the layout and the detailing are done on those, so we're still planning for that timeline.
So for the record, you also just swore your soul to mid-December.
I did promise late hours if necessary to get those back through.
Aren't you glad you came today? All right. Thank you, John, for the report. Any questions for John? Yeah.
One more comment, Mr. Chairman. While we're talking about Smyrna and the Weekly site, we have been working with, I've been working with Mr. Hercules. We Mike. I talked with him. I think we're good. We, of course, as you know, our current site on Weekly is on 2 acres. We discovered we had 2 additional acres that Smyrna had been using as a construction yard off of G Street, back behind us. We took it to property management. We are going to, the deal is that they want 1 acre because they haven't been able to find a construction yard anywhere, especially with the price of property. So we were willing to give them 1. That gives us 3, okay, compared to the 2 that we currently have. We give Smyrna 1 acre, which gives them room for a construction yard behind their water administration office, where they bring gravel or pipes or whatever when they're working on a weekend or et cetera. So for us deeding over that 1 acre, they are going to run sewer, because we only have water at our current location. They're going to run sewer off of G Street up to our 3 acres, and they'll take care of all the plat design, all the engineering on it. They'll run the sewer, waive the fee on the tap fee for the sewer, which will make our 3 acres much more valuable. And then we'll let property management decide what they want to do to it with sewer on it.
Good. Questions for John? Thank you, John. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
All right, no other business. We'll see you October 12th, and thanks for coming.